If you're anything like me, you made the mistake of moving to a remote college town for the presumptive love of your life so that you could be together while she works toward her doctorate. Your need for reassurance, namely that you made the right choice, deprioritizing your pseudo-career in entertainment for a future with this person who for about a year and a half was pretty vocal about wanting to have your babies, coupled with her more recent and ever-appreciating need for space as you put on cringy, emasculating displays of neediness, ultimately sent the relationship into a death spiral. So yeah, you ended up making arrangements to move back to Atlanta, where your efforts as a screenwriter and F-list actor in indie horror films show promise. This will hopefully realign you with your pre-Ithaca trajectory and relieve her of the extracurricular pressures of being invested in a relationship and or moderately present for a very committed, albeit highly unbalanced live-in boyfriend who's 9 years her senior and whose local identity has been relegated to cocktail bartender and dive bar drunk, respectively. The 3 months you've spent working and saving up money for your second interstate move in 1 year, writing out the lease in an ostensibly loveless household and waking up every morning to the jarring reality that you're a 35-year-old man-child artist who has lost his reason for being in an undergrad-ridden town with no entertainment infrastructure has done serious damage to your self-image. And as the definitive move date approaches, you recognize that it's necessary for you to restore some self-esteem before you get back to Atlanta, or you'll show up on the scene a complete and unequivocal loser. And yeah, so in order to do that, you decide to hit the gym. That is correct. After my iPhone discerned that I was hurting and my TikTok feed turned into a barrage of spurned boyfriend content replete with hard man bodies, I decided to start pumping iron in a last-ditch effort to process my grief, resentment, guilt, regret, what else? I said resentment, right? Yeah, I should say that I generally prefer to subvert social media tropes, if not entirely avoid them. Documenting fitness journeys just seems a little basic to me, but when I saw my estranged lover's sex positive and presumably empowering Instagram post where it looks like she's having the time of her life on an inflatable boob at the Museum of Sex, I knew it was time to take a more physical approach to healing and to make a video about it. Obviously, seeing as memoir-driven docufiction feels like an effective form of self-care for me. I can't note that for sure because I'm not a mental health practitioner, but it makes me feel grounded. I feel it. But yeah, I read this book, How to Think About Exercise, and it has helped me over-intellectualize my workouts to the point that this video may actually end up on brand. We will see. Jung rejects Plato and Descartes' take on dualism that blames the body for our flaws and lauds the mind as pure. He also rejects the dualism that blames our mind for making our bodies weak and uncoordinated. Instead, he argues that thinking is simply a faculty of the body, and for the record, I agree. Most of my ideas aren't concrete until I activate parts of my body, namely my fingers and my mouth. Like when I'm typing out my ideas and then dictating them to a camera, or when I use my thumb to text bomb a person who I feel is making me out to be a caricature, oversimplifying my failings and downplaying her own, presumably to avoid sharing responsibility for the pain we're both going through. Yeah, being a man of many words can grate on people's nerves, understandably, but sharing my thoughts has always been integral to my developing those thoughts. As philosopher Gilbert Ryle attests, speaking isn't just speaking, it's a way of thinking. Many ideas are best developed in company. And that's pretty much therapy's whole thing. When a therapist gets you to talk, she's getting you to use the 100 or so muscles that comprise your vocal apparatus to unlock healthy ideas in your brain. It's all body. So yeah, in that way, therapy is a physical exercise that can lead to mental gains, hopefully. But yeah, Jung also points out how our bodiliness bleeds into our language. We grasp an idea, we push for an outcome, we rise in the ranks, we fall from grace. Emotions are embodied too. That should be obvious. We cry when we lose the person who matters most. We slap our faces when we're inadequate at preventing our best friend from turning into a stranger who will now live 900 miles away. In short, and as Jung hammers home, we aren't minds that have bodies. We are bodies. We're just bodies. So I'm not just hitting the gym for the revenge bod, although that will be nice. I'm also doing it to tease out parts of my character that have been beaten into dormancy the past few months and to reel in a fuller version of myself so I can process the breakup in a less destructive way. Until recently, I was coping by drinking my weight in alcohol, getting mugged at gunpoint in Syracuse, and going through the drudgery of replacing my phone, credit cards, and driver's license, and rationalizing why none of that was my fault. And yeah, it turns out that's not sustainable. Co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, Bill Wilson, has a nice quote: "You can't think your way into right action, but you can act your way into right thinking." And that's not me saying I'm off the sauce. It's not even an endorsement of AA. There's actually an underpublicized 1995 study from Harvard Medical School that suggests that alcoholics have a better chance of quitting drinking if they don't attend AA than if they do. Obviously, take that with a grain of salt. Do what works for you. The sentiment itself, though, that you have to act first is profound, and it echoes heavier hitters like Socrates, Xenophon, and the Nike slogan. Basically, if I want to get into a headspace where I'm motivated to sweep the salt and vinegar chip crumbs off of my beer gut and go to the gym on a regular basis, I have to go to the gym first. I have to cultivate motivation and consistency through action rather than waiting for it. Although I will say that I generally don't have to wait for it, seeing as my TikTok feed reeks of the stuff right now.
Go! Will you take to go? And make it happen!
You can take it from the algorithm. We value what we focus on, and that is owing to something called experience-dependent neuroplasticity. Basically, if I spend less time focusing on being undervalued and emotionally ghosted in a town that I was incompatible with, and instead spend more time focusing on, let's say, my pecs, science says I will value my body more. And if Jung and I are right in assuming that I am simply a body, I will in effect value myself more. Hopefully burn off some of the self-pity I've been wallowing in the past few months and internalize the fact that no, I am not a ghost. I am an animate bag of bones and strained meat working in concert to lift weights and to make a video about lifting weights as a palliative for heartache. Self-pity is not humility, as it turns out. It's a strain of self-centeredness, and I've let a lot of friends get weighed down with mine recently, and I'm done with that. The self-pity part, not necessarily the using friends part. I'm staying in Derek's guest room rent-free, making it my own, until I can save up enough money to afford a motorcycle and a new place. Probably in that order. So yeah, self-pity is not humility. Humility is a virtue that helps us better understand and own our own limitations. And what's cool is it's something that you can condition in the gym. It doesn't matter how hard I go, there will always be a dude more yoked than me doing deadlifts in my periphery. And it doesn't matter how consistent I am, my body will age, my muscles will atrophy, and I will die. Probably alone at this rate. Once you learn to enjoy the Sisyphus cosplay that is working out, you'll have a clear impression of the parts of you can change, and you'll be more accepting of the parts of you can't. This in turn will free you up to enjoy all the ancillary benefits that are available to you, however insignificant and fleeting they may be in and of themselves, just as I'm enjoying the insignificant and fleeting benefits of being single again, regardless of how sore I am about how that played out. Breakups themselves are workouts. You can practice good form and grow from them, or you can get sloppy and injure yourself and or others, as I have been guilty of doing. Her too. From what I hear on the grapevine, it's pretty yeesh right now. All that said though, and in keeping with the breakup workout allegory, do be wary of those people who fancy themselves personal trainers. And by that I mean people who think they know the best attitudinal approach to your healing. They might not. For example, when my friends try to console me with platitudes like, you never loved her, you just love the idea of her, they always fail to acknowledge that applies to me too. I love the idea of me way more than I love myself. I think it's just part of the human condition. You know, we're hardwired for progress and chronically unsatisfied with our current position. Can I transcend that? Probably not. Can I be better about living with it? Probably. At the gym. The gym helps you internalize that the act of striving is a reward in and of itself, and being with yourself through the strain and discomfort helps you access those inner resources that will help you find your own way out of the gutter. My way out has traditionally been through creative projects, namely grandiloquent video essays and more recently sad bastard TikTok poetry. But the small town nastiness of a breakup between two incompatibly damaged people and the logistics of moving back to Atlanta kind of threw a wrench into my creative gears. Until that is, I started working out. One theory of transient hypofrontality is that a lot of our cognitive functions that weigh down creative ideation are suspended when we exercise. And after the past 3 weeks, I gotta say I am a proponent of this theory. Sticking to a regular workout regimen has given me the boost I needed to finish this video. And it's even motivated me to start drawing and coloring again. I actually made this piece for my interim bedroom. It's called Grotesque Transcendence. And I'd be willing to sell it for $3,000. And yeah, that money would not compensate me for the emotional distress that I needed to make it, but it would offset most of my moving expenses. So. Okay, so here I am on week 3-ish of my fitness journey trying to fill out this muscle tee. I got a little ways to go, and I guess I have about a week after releasing this video for it to lose its insidious hold on me enough to where I really start getting some of my mojo back. Filming and editing this was a serious chore, and I'm just really eager to move on with my life. I'm grateful to be back in Atlanta. You know, it has its own nasty history, but at least I don't feel the effects of sleeping directly over an Indian burial ground like I did in Ithaca. And that's not to say Ithaca doesn't have its charm. It's very beautiful up there. A lot of kind, loving people, a lot of people I consider friends. You also got your academics, your wannabe pool shark townies who are engaging enough when you're drunk. But I need to be here surrounding myself with fellow entertainers and creators. Namely the guys at Encyclomedia who put me in their productions and let me play with swords, and Hayden Kramer, better known as Hero Bust, a DJ whose name I drop with embarrassing frequency, who has a cold plunge at his house that he said I can use whenever. As far as processing the breakup goes, I have come to recognize a couple good things I got out of the relationship. She gave me this really cool quilt on my birthday where it's like a UFO and skeletons and stuff. Also, I learned that I still have the capacity to feel and commit on such a deep level, which is really good to know because I don't think I want to do that again. The best thing I got out of the relationship, though, was a viral TikTok, and I have to give her credit for that. She was an incredible foil to my online persona and just a huge deadpan asset to my Ithaca era content. And while I'm at a place right now where I think I would rather lose an arm than pursue anything romantic with her down the line, I would be glad to keep the door open for creative collaboration. I mean, she was that good, so. Goodbye to all that.